Something smells fishy, and I hope it's not their queen. The Fishmen and their queen. This is the 1995 TV movie that is very choppy. Welcome to day 4 of my director dedication week for Sergio Martino. But before we get into it, make sure to like, comment on, as well as share this video. Like my Facebook fan page and support me on Patreon. Even $1 a month can help keep this channel going on strong, and I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, hit that notification bell, and as always, subscribe. Alright, let's get into this. The plot. 2 boys living underground in the sewers, trying to avoid the mercenaries, which is what I think they call them, are getting bored of living down there. Eventually, they make their way to the surface, where they're like, nothing's happening, let's go back down after 5 minutes. What the fuck? Thankfully, they come across a dog, who takes them to a pleasant old man, who takes them on an adventure to an island. There, the fish queen thing is ruling the land. She's thriving. Now, I tried to condense this down into a short plot summary, but trust me when I say there's a lot of stuff that happens in this movie. None of it is particularly good, mind you. However, it is watchable. There is an overabundance of stock footage. Everything from Islands of the Fishmen to After the Fall of New York. They all culminate to make The Fishmen and Their Queen, the movie. It's a bit underwhelming. You would think that this being a sequel, it would follow the events of Islands of the Fishmen, that the stories would connect. Nope, it's its own story. There isn't even a hint of what happened in the previous film. Another problem I have with this film is the dubbing. My god. At first, it's truly insufferable. After a while, it kind of tones down and it's more bearable just a bit on both ends. I do think the enthusiasm from the characters does help. You can tell a lot of the cast were enjoying themselves. From the constantly laughing old man, to the kids learning about things they should already know, or have been taught before. It all just gels into a feature with tons of charm. But the kids don't know anything because the schools and pretty much everything else ended when the apocalypse started. Speaking of school, one of the kids got to middle school while the other one was sewer-bound all his life. You would think the latter one would be much younger, but no, they're about the same age. Makes no sense. They both should have been in school then when the apocalypse started. You can tell Martino really wanted to make something amazing for kids. That is why I think the stock footage shots from his other films works in this situation, in some regard. Kids most likely would not have been allowed to see films like Island of the Fishmen, or After the Fall of New York when this came out. Therefore, the amazing stuff that is now in this flick would capture their attention. But I'm 26. I've seen those films. Therefore, the magic is lost on me. As an adult, all I can see is a TV movie that tried, and did have some good ideas, characters, editing, and music for the most part, but most of it was poorly executed. Socrates, played by Donald Hodgson from Star Crash, he was the old guy prisoner from that movie. He was only in it for a short bit. He was in other movies too. Plays the old man who has a belly full of laughs. He's probably my favorite character because he's so sweet and means well. The Queen, played by Ramona Badescu, was probably the woman of many a boy's fantasies back in 1995. While this TV movie obviously doesn't have nudity, her performance is enough to satisfy, I guess. It's not really her acting, it's her gestures and persona that really captivate. The 2 boys, Sam, played by Giuliano Janissini, and Tom, played by Michael Velez, work well off each other. Now, I think Sam is the blonde kid, and Tom is the black one, but I'm not quite sure. If so, Sam is the one who wants to learn and explore, while Tom wants to talk like a streetwise cool cat, which doesn't make too much sense if he was supposed to be born after all that influence and pop culture was popular. Also, Sam falls in love with Selva, played by Castri Ganano, a native girl who also knows about a particular prophecy involving the two boys. The rest of the cast is fine. I find it funny that Selva's brother, I think that's her brother, was turned into a half black man, half fish, but then when he's turned back, he's a hulking blonde dude. The editing is okay in this film. They tried to match everything up with the stock footage, so there was some effort put into this. The same cannot be said about the gore, the effects. There is no gore. The scenes that did have gore in Island of the Fishmen and After the Fall of New York were cut around. For the effects, there is stock footage of the Fishmen, and they did use new suits. Some of them might have been recycled from the previous movie, I'm not quite sure, but they're serviceable nevertheless. Cheap, but serviceable, kinda. The motion picture soundtrack, Luigi Cesarilli composed the music that is almost too good for this film. Some of it sounds like something Full Moon Entertainment would commission in the early 90s. It is whimsical, and the supposed intense themes do work well. To the average moviegoer, this is a terrible movie. For me, it's okay. Nothing great. It had some ideas and executed them, but the best the budget would allow. As it stands, though, this is the worst Sergio Marchina movie I have ever seen so far. It's entertaining, but it definitely needed a bigger budget. Overall, I give The Fishmen and their queen a 1.5 out of 5. Thank you all for watching, and I am Brian Gatto, the horror show host. Make sure to like, comment on, as well as share this video. Like my Facebook fan page and support me on Patreon. Even $1 a month can help keep this channel going on strong, and I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, hit that notification bell, and as always, subscribe.